Hello and welcome to Trading 5 Talents. In this video, I want to go over a modification that I'll be making in my live trading bot on Option Alpha. It's not really a change to the overall strategy of selling iron flies every day on SPY, but really it's more about managing risk. And so I've been thinking about, this idea. I'm just referring to it as a shrinking trail. I'm not sure if there's an actual name or term for this type of setup, but I think this name seems to fit what I'm trying to accomplish. So the current iron fly that I have set up, my trading bot on Option Alpha, is an SPY iron fly, 10 strikes wide, selling one every day for 7 DTE. And my credit is around, lately it's between $500 and $600 in credit. And so I have a few ways to exit this iron fly. And the main thing that I'm doing is at 15% profit, I'm initiating a 5% trailing stop. And that's what you can see here on this graph. And so on the y-axis, so up and down, you can see this is a percent gain. So this is the percent profit or the percent premium decrease that I am receiving. Along the x-axis, left to right, on the bottom is time. And so I'm starting my trades, basically right on that y-axis, right where that white dot is. And in the worst case scenario, my position would go right down to my 30% stop loss, or my negative 30% stop loss, and I would have a 30% loss. This is the worst case scenario if it just goes straight down and never went into profit. All right, so let's start back at the beginning. So I enter my trade, and if it goes up to 15%, which is where the trailing stop is activated, then my negative 30% stop loss shouldn't really come into effect because my trailing stop is now activated. And so if it drops back down by 5%, then I should have, theoretically, a 10% profit. Okay, so it goes up to 15, it falls back down to 5% or falls back 5%, and then I exit for a 10% profit. Okay, so that's another scenario. All right, and then I have my hard take profit at the 50%. That's the green line at the top. So let's say it hits the 15% profit target, and then it continues to go up. Okay, so let's say it goes up to 30%, but then the price comes back down, as you see in white, and it comes back down to that red line. So that's where I'd be exiting for 25% profit because it went up to 30. My trailing stop is 5% below that, which would be 25%. If the price goes to that 25% profit, then that's when this bot is going to exit. All right, so that's all well and good. But what I would like to do is see if I can't manage my risk just a little bit more, especially right after open. So this is where I am introducing this shrinking trailing stop, or this shrinking trail. And so my first step is to enter this trade like normal, except I'm only going to have a negative 30% stop loss. Okay, so that's what you see right here. That's my safety net, negative 30%. If my position just loses value right out of the gate and I lose 30%, well, that's the risk that I'm willing to take using iron flies. But if it goes up to 10%, then I want to move my stop loss just under my break even, which would be negative 5%. There isn't a break even stop loss on Option Alpha that I could find. The closest thing that I could do is I just add a 10% trail. That is, if it goes up to 10%, as you see in the dotted green line, then I'm going to have a 10% trailing stop, which would be at 0, which would be at break even. So that's as close as I can get to break even, so that if it goes into a little bit of profit, then I'm taking away all of that risk. So as of right now, as the position opens at this white dot, you have all of this risk to the downside. But if in my current setup, it goes up just a little bit to 10% profit, you still have all of that risk to the downside. That's what I want to get rid of, is that downside risk shortly after open. And so that's what I'm going to be doing with this 10% trail as soon as it reaches 10%, the profit target at 10%. All right, now the shrinking portion of this trailing stop would be as follows. If it goes up to 20%, I'm going to reduce my trailing stop to 5%. So it was 10 and 10. Now it's 20 and 5. If it moves up to 30%, I'm going to reduce the trail to 4%. If If it moves up to 40%, I'm going to reduce it to 3%. 50%, I'm going to reduce it to a 2% trail. 60%, I'm going to reduce it to a 1% trail, which is extremely tight, but I'll also have a 70% take profit if the price continues to move upward in my favor. This is why I'm referring to it as a shrinking trailing stop, because it gets tighter and tighter as the position moves into further and further profit. So I hope that makes sense. And really the takeaway is trying to reduce that negative 30% stop loss as soon as it gets into profit. And the reason is because I don't want my winners to turn into losers if my first trailing stop activation target isn't reached yet. So as soon as it reaches 10%, then I want to move it to the break even. And then if it goes up, then wonderful. If it falls back down, then at least I can get out close to break even and not take a full loss on this iron fly. So let me show you in Option Alpha how I am setting this up in my automations. Okay, over here in Option Alpha on the left, you have an automation folder, and this is where you can save different automations, and this is where I saved mine. It's just called the shrinking trail. And so if you click on it, this is how I set it up. But basically I'm asking if the position premium has decreased by 60%. If it has, then do this thing. And what this thing is here in pink is a update to my exit options, which means it's a 60% activation, 1% trail, 70% take profit. If it hasn't reached 60%, it's going to go and check for the 50% activation, in which case, if it is, then it's going to activate a trailing stop at 50% with a 2% trail. If it hasn't reached 50%, it's going to check for 40%, and that's the 43 trail. Again, 30%, 34 trail, 20%, 25 trail. And so down here, if it hasn't reached 20% and it has reached 10, then it's going to put a 10% trail on my 10% activation with a hard stop loss at negative 5%. So I don't know if that negative 5% stop loss is needed, but I just put it in there maybe as a double safety net, I guess, but it shouldn't be needed if I already have this trailing stop. So if the position never gets to 10%, then that negative 30% hard stop loss is still activated when the position opened. Right. So I saved it in my automation folder so I can use it for other, iron fly iterations. But so in my live bot, which is right here, if I click on it, you can see in the settings, you can add an automation. And when you add the automation, I could select it from my automations, the shrinking trail, and then you select a schedule, and I select it as a monitor. And so every 15 minutes, it's going to monitor every open position. And if it meets one of those criteria, 10%, 20%, and so on, then it's going to activate or update those exit options and activate the trailing stop and shrink it as the position gets into more and more profit. So if you're interested in where this automation is, what I've done is I've put it in the community. So if you go over to the community and just search for Trading 5 Talents, here is my Ironfly bot right here, the one that's in blue. And so if you click on it and then you go all the way to the bottom right here. Okay, so I have the shrinking trail, this automation, and then you can save it to your library. You can view it, and then if you want to, you can add it. Now, I didn't put it in my template yet because I don't know if this is a better automation to put into the template, like if it's going to work any better. So if we go over to my other paper bots, I think it's this one right here that I've been running for quite a while. This one, yes, back in December. This is my original 1530. And if we look at some of the positions, I just want to find some of these losers right here. So this loser right here, April 6 expiration. Okay, so it never got to a 10%. It only went up 3% and then went down. Okay, so that one wouldn't have been affected. This one right here, I'm not exactly sure why it didn't go all the way down to negative 30%. This one right here, April 5th, again, it never even got to a 10%. So this one, again, would have been a loser right out of the gate. This one right here. Okay, so here's an example. It got to 13.5%, but it never got to the 15%, profit where it would have done something, where it would have activated a trailing stop in my case, or it would have taken profit in this case. It got to 13.5%, and then actually went all the way down to negative 30%. And you lost $200 on this trade. So this type of position is a good example of what my shrinking trail would hopefully negate. And that is after it went up 10%, then at least the break even would be at play. And hopefully I wouldn't have had this loss. I just would have broke even. All right, let's look at this one right here. Again, this one, no, it only went to 2.7%, and then it fell back down to negative 30. So, you know, of all of these losers, looks like there's 5 of them. At least one of them would have been saved. The other ones, it was just a losing streak, and the position price just went down. So that's going to happen. I expect that to happen. But if we can at least save some of them from happening, then I think that would probably be a good idea. And that's what this shrinking trail is designed to do. So this is going to be the first week that I'm trying it out. So if you look at my live positions right now, right here. So with this one right here, okay, so we're up to 27.1%. So here's my new shrinking trailing stop, 20 and 5, right? But right now we're not trailing by 5, so it's still open. This one right here is, okay, here we go. So it went up to 13.9. And so now we're in this section of the automation, 10% activation, 10% trail. So the target, that 10% target is hit, and it's trailing by 1.7%. And then I've moved my stop loss down or up to negative 5%. All right, this final one that's open, it hasn't done anything, so it's still waiting to activate. And it, in fact, it looks like it opened before I started my automation, so it still has the old exit options that I'll need to update. But as of right now, when this hits 10%, then this should change to negative 5% stop loss, and this should be a 10% trailing stop. But so starting this week, week 4 of using the live bot, that's when I'm going to start implementing these new shrinking trails. And then, of course, I'll report back to see how they're working. And because I have my paper bots that aren't using it, then there'll be a pretty good comparison of, you know, what it's like with or without the shrinking trail. So if you have any questions, leave a comment down below, or you can catch me over on Option Alpha in the community, and I'll try to answer those as quickly as possible. Until next time, trade wisely and take care.